One of the anchor points of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is zero tolerance for corruption. This agenda can only be achieved if we all play our parts by joining the campaign against all forms of economic crimes and corruption. Hello and welcome to the program, The Eagle. My name is Aisha Gambari. With me is Aisha Mohammed. Hello Aisha, what do you have for us from the court of this segment today?
And to our audience, thank you for joining us again. It was a harvest of victories for the EFCC as the Supreme Court dismisses an appeal by the former spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Ulisa Metu, seeking to halt his trial over an alleged money laundering and fraud charges. Just as Ricky Tafa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, lost his no-case submission before Justice Adedayo Akintoye of the Lagos State High Court sitting in Iboshiri, Lagos.
We'll begin the program with highlights of events within the Commission as the Secretary General of the International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, Jürgen Stock, paid a courtesy visit on acting chairman of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu. Stock, who led a delegation comprising of other members of the Interpol to EFCC headquarters in Abuja, expressed satisfaction at the efforts of the anti-graft agency under the leadership of Ibrahim Magu. Here are the details.
Secretary General of Interpol, Jürgen Stock, commended the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari for its efforts in fighting corruption in Nigeria. Stock, who said he is delighted to be at the Commission, emphasizes the need to understand the global directions of organized crime, adding that the world is taking advantage of globalization to commit crime, and it is a threat to all nations.
I'm delighted to be here again, the first time in my capacity as Secretary General. For me, it's mainly an opportunity to thank the government of Nigeria and the law enforcement agencies under the umbrella of the Minister of Interior, mainly for a great cooperation. We have had since many, many years in our organization the General Secretariat that has been benefiting traditionally from advice, from leadership, but also from seconded police officers like our colleague who is part of our office in Abidjan, and the officers that are part of the international teams in Lyon and in Singapore. And with this strong support, we have been able, I think, to make significant progress and better serving our member countries. When I started my office at the end of 2014, I committed myself that we spend every single dollar according to the needs of our member countries. So we need to understand the threats in the different regions of our global community. We need to understand the global dimension of the current threats with regard to organized crime, terrorism, and of course cybercrime, which is borderless by nature, as we are all aware. We are all aware that this threat level, unfortunately, is going to increase, that criminals all over the world are taking benefit from globalization, a globalized economy, the opportunities to travel around the world, and of course using the internet for all kind of illegal activities.
He said the Interpol is committed to supporting the EFCC and indeed other agencies to build global security architecture and ensure that adequate information is made available amongst other infrastructure to support the Commission. Receiving the guests, Magu commended Stock for finding time out of his busy schedule to visit the Commission. The EFCC, he said, has always had a good relationship with the Interpol and have always enjoyed collaboration with the organization, specifically in the area of information sharing.
I want to insist that everybody must join hand because this is delaying. People are dying, poverty. Every evil is caused by corruption in this country. Every evil. The worst cause of everything, even the cancer was caused by it. People describe corruption as cancer. Corruption is a disaster. So I want to thank everybody here. They have supported in the fight against corruption.
While advocating for a borderless platform to further support efficiency in information sharing culture, Magu called for more collaboration with the Interpol, which he said is essential for effective operations of the Commission. The Interpol was established in 1923 as an international organization that facilitates international police cooperation, and it consists of 192 member states, including Nigeria.
Still talking about collaborative efforts in the fight against corruption. As the country steadily moves towards the 2019 general elections, acting chairman of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, has called on Nigerians to rise up to their responsibilities by making the right choice of leaders in order to move the nation forward. Magu said this when he paid a walk-in visit to the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC's headquarters in Abuja. The report.
The EFCC boss was welcomed to the INEC headquarters by the chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Speaking during the visit, which took place at the Commission's conference room where INEC commissioners and members of staff of the Commission had waited to give him a warm reception, Magu said the visit wouldn't have come at a better time than now when preparations for the next general elections has begun. He called on all Nigerians, irrespective of gender or status, to support the fight against corruption by rising up to their responsibilities of making the right choice of leaders in order to move the country towards the path of sustainable development. The EFCC boss likened corruption to cancer, noting that it had remained the bane of Nigeria's development. Professor Yakubu, while thanking Magu and his team for the visit, solicited for the Commission's support in fighting the scourge of vote buying, saying open vote buying will not be tolerated by INEC in the forthcoming elections. Yakubu also expressed readiness to partner with the EFCC to curb corrupt practices and specifically called on the Commission to help monitor election campaign funding by public office seekers.
Glad to know you're still there. With the continuous apprehension and prosecution of economic and financial crime offenders by the EFCC, some have decided to continue their nefarious acts. But as long as the EFCC exists, no matter how they operate or where they operate from, the law will always catch up with them. This brings us to the story of Richard Singh or Basoge, who has been parading himself as a colonel of the United States Army, and Mike Nwokocha. They were both arrested by the EFCC for impersonating operatives of the Commission to obtain $10,000 by false pretense. Stay tuned for more on the story.
The EFCC arrested Obasogi and Nwokocha after their victim petitioned the Commission, alleging that one Laden Mustafa, who claimed to be an operative of EFCC, gave him a call informing him that there was a petition against him before the Commission. The petitioner alleges that a meeting was arranged between him and the suspect where the sum of $200,000 was demanded as gratification in order to kill the case. The victim said they finally agreed on $15,000 and an initial payment of $5,000 cash was made to Nwokocha. He said he suspected a foul play after a retired personnel of the Department of State Services told him that the EFCC does not demand for money in order to carry out its official duties, hence the petition. Upon receiving the petition, the EFCC swung into action. One of the suspects, Nwokocha, was arrested, and upon his arrest, he confessed that Obasogi was the brain behind the fraud. The Commission's team of operatives thereafter went in search of Obasogi, who confessed to the crime and said he was also co-opted into the scheme. A search warrant was executed on their houses, and several incriminating documents were recovered from Obasogi's house during the search. The suspects will soon be charged to court as soon as investigations are concluded. Meanwhile, operatives are intensifying search for Mustafa Laden, who is currently at large. In a similar vein, operatives of the South-South Zonal Office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, have arrested a former constable of the Nigerian police for parading himself as a staff of the commission. The suspect, David Lobot Limdum, was arrested after a petitioner alleged that the suspect was introduced to him as a staff of the EFCC. The petitioner alleged that the victim promised to help him recover a loan of over 15 million naira he offered to one Patience Amawole, a banker with an old generation bank in Port Harcourt. To demonstrate to the petitioner that he was indeed an EFCC stat, Nimdo allegedly went with the petitioner to Amawole's office to arrest her. He even recorded a statement made by the banker and collected her house documents. He ordered that the banker to commence the repayment of the loan to the petitioner and directed her to pay an initial sum of 250,000 naira into his own bank account, promising that the money will be paid into EFCC's loan recovery account. The petitioner later found out that Nimdo was an imposter and reported him to the commission. Investigations by the EFCC showed that Nimdo was a mobile policeman dismissed in 2012 after an orderly room trial occasioned by allegations of corrupt practices imputed to him and for which he was found guilty. Before being dismissed from the Nigerian police, he worked as a seconded staff to the EFCC and had since been disengaged from the commission. Nimdo was also found to have sent several text messages to different individuals claiming to be an EFCC operative from the Abuja office. He will be charged to court as soon as investigation is concluded.
Imagine a society where everything works. Durable road networks, stable electricity supply, portable water, well-equipped and functional healthcare facilities, quality education for all, affordable housing schemes, social security benefits, job creation, and a lot more that makes life comfortable to live. That is an ideal society. We can only achieve these if we all play our part. Say no to corruption to enjoy these benefits. Kill corruption to save Nigeria. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Thank you for staying tuned. The program is The Eagle, coming to you from the stables of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Don't forget to reach out to us via our social media platforms at Official EFCC across all the social media networks. Next on the program is our court update segment as the EFCC records victory in several cases on appeal. Over to you, Aisha, for details.
Thank you. On the segment, the Supreme Court on Friday, February 9, 2018, dismissed the appeal by the former spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Olusemetu, seeking to halt his trial over alleged money laundering and fraud. This and other details are in the next report. Please stay tuned.
Olusemetu is standing trial alongside his company, Desreal Investment Limited, on a 7-count charge bordering on money laundering to the tune of 400 million naira. The money was allegedly collected from the office of the National Security Advisor ahead of the 2015 general elections. Justice Okon Abang had in March 2016, while ruling on Metu's no-case submission, held that he has a case to answer in the 7-count charge of fraud preferred against him by the EFCC. Dissatisfied, Metu had approached the Court of Appeal asking it to overturn the ruling of the trial court and stay further proceedings on the matter pending the determination of the interlocutory appeal. The Court of Appeal in May 2016 upheld the ruling of the trial court and ordered Metu to go and stand for trial. Not still satisfied with the ruling of the appeal court, Metu proceeded to the Supreme Court seeking all legal means to halt the trial. However, in a unanimous ruling by a 5-man panel of justices of the Supreme Court, led by Justice Clara Ogunbi, which summary was read by Justice Ejembi Eko, Metu's application was dismissed. The Apex Court affirmed the decision of the Appellate Court, which held that Metu's motion was incompetent as it failed to comply with constitutional provisions for the filing of such appeal. The court also held that Me Too was wrong to have brought the appeal without first seeking the leave of the lower court or that of the appeal court. In a related development, the Court of Appeal Lagos Division has dismissed an application filed by a serial fraudster, Fred Ajudua, and affirmed the ruling of Justice J.E. Oyefeso of the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, in a $1 million fraud case. Ajudua and his accomplice, Joseph Ochuno, sometimes in 1993, allegedly defrauded one Ziad Abu Zalaf of Technical International Limited, a German-based company, of the said amount. The case had been struck out on February 16, 2009, by a formal trial judge, Justice M.O. Obadino, sitting at the Lagos State High Court in Ikeja, when the appellant refused to appear in court for his arraignment in 24 adjournments between April 24, 2005 and February 16, 2009. Justice Obadino, while striking out the case, had ordered the Commission to apply for relisting of the case whenever Ajudua was available within the jurisdiction of the court. In view of this, the EFCC filed a motion dated 25th January 2017 for an order of the court relisting the case. Following the transfer of Justice Obadino from the Ikeja Division of the Lagos State High Court, the case file was returned to the Lagos State High Court's archive in Ikeja. When Ajudua suddenly reappeared before Justice J.O.K. Oyewole in a different charge, the EFCC, via a letter dated December 18, 2013, applied to the Chief Judge of Lagos State for the case to be reassigned to another court for trial. When the Commission did not receive reply, another letter dated 20th June 2016 was also written to the CJ of Lagos State, and the case was thereafter assigned to Justice Oyefeso for trial. He was listed in Justice Oyefeso's court list for mention on December 14, 2016, while the Commission subsequently brought a motion for relisting the case on January 25, 2017. Ajudua, rather than prepare for the hearing of the case, filed a motion of preliminary objection challenging the competence of the Commission's motion to relist the information. However, in our ruling on April 27, 2017, Justice Oyefeso had dismissed Ajudua's preliminary objection and granted the Commission's application for relisting the information. In a notice of appeal dated 5th May 2017, Ajudua had appealed to the appellate court to strike out the ruling of the trial court. However, in a judgment delivered on February 8, 2018, the appellate court dismissed Ajudua's appeal and affirmed the decision of the trial court.
Still in Lagos, Justice Adedayo Akintoye of the Lagos State High Court, sitting in Ibosheri, has dismissed a no-case submission filed by Ricky Tafa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SEN, in response to the criminal charges filed against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The report.
Tafa is facing trial on an amended 26 counts charge bordering, among others, on charges of alleged willful obstruction of authorized officials of the EFCC, refusal to declare assets, making false information, and offering gratification to a public official. In the application, Tafa, to his counsel, Jalili Owonikoku SEN, prayed the court to slam the EFCC for what he described as a malicious prosecution. He also prayed the court to award the sum of 520 million naira as damages to Tafa for compensation. On the allegation that the defendant lied about his age during interrogation, the defense counsel said there was a difference between falsehood and mistake. He further submitted that his client's reputation and occupation had suffered a great deal. Rotimi Oyedepo, who stood in for the EFCC, opposed Tafa's no-case submission and urged the court to dismiss the application. Oyedepo also urged the court to call on the defendant to explain the allegations against him. Delivering his ruling on the no-case submission, Justice Akintoye held that the arguments advanced by the defense counsel could not hold water because the prosecution had established a prima facie case against the defendant. The judge said, and I quote, "The prosecution has established extended elements of facts in the charge. The evidence of the prosecution has not been discredited during cross-examination by the defense. I find no merit in this prayer. The no-case submission is hereby dismissed." End of quote. Consequently, the judge ordered the defendant to open his case and adjourned the matter to 13th, 24th and 22nd of March 2018. The EFCC had on Monday, 23rd October 2017, closed its case against Tarfa after presenting a number of witnesses who testified against him.
A three-man panel of the Court of Appeal, Lagos Division, has upheld the conviction and sentencing of Abiodun Ibrahim Atobalete, who was charged with fraud to the tune of about 3 million naira.
The convict had been arraigned sometimes in 2012 before Justice O.A. Akinlade of the Lagos State High Court sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, on a 2-count charge for obtaining the sum of about 3 million naira under false pretense. In a petition dated May 11, 2010, the complainant, Chief G.O. Onipede, had alleged that Atobatele collected the money from him under false pretense as part payment for a 2003 model Lexus Jeep, after which he became elusive. The defendant had pleaded not guilty to the charge preferred against him by the EFCC, thereby setting the stage for his full trial. During the trial, the prosecution presented a number of witnesses and tendered documents and evidence against the defendant. Delivering a judgment on February 26, 2015, Justice Akinlade found the defendant guilty on all counts and sentenced him to 7 years imprisonment without an option of fine on each count. The sentences were to run concurrently from the date of conviction and sentencing. The court also ordered the EFCC to pay the sum of 200,000 naira recovered from the convict during the investigation as part of restitution to the complainant. The convict was also ordered to forfeit a plot of land located at Ifo in Ogun State to the complainant as restitution. Dissatisfied, the defendant appealed to the appellate court to set aside the judgment of the trial court. While canvassing his arguments at the appellate court, counsel to the EFCC urged the appeal court to dismiss the appeal and uphold the decision of the trial court. In a unanimous decision, the appellate court on February 8, 2018, dismissed the appeal and affirmed Atobatele's conviction in the judgment delivered by the trial court.
That's all we have for you on our court segment this week. Thank you for staying tuned. Nigeria is a great country and it is our responsibility to make it greater. Support the fight against corruption. I am Aisha Muhammad. See you next time. Goodbye.
And that brings us to the end of the program this week. See you next time for another interesting edition. Please don't forget to like our page on facebook.com/official EFCC or follow us on Twitter @official EFCC. And to watch our programs and other activities, please log on to youtube.com/official EFCC. My name is Aisha Gambari. Thank you for watching and God bless Nigeria.